In this video, I'm going to share with you how we're able to sell digital products with YouTube ads. We've sold over 8 figures of digital products for clients like Amazing Selling Machine, Kinobody, Awesome REI, and many more. And I'm going to share our exact process for scaling digital products with YouTube ads. Now, before we get into this video, make sure to smash that like button for the algorithm, and also let me know what kind of videos you'd like me to make. So just comment below with any sort of videos you want me to make, and I'll look at getting those done. So why would you want to sell digital products with YouTube ads? There's actually a few good reasons. Reason number one is that people are on YouTube to learn. So if you look at a lot of the YouTube videos that are popular out there, they're often videos about tutorials, or they're how-to videos, or they teach you how to do something. And this means that these people are often very engaged and are trying to solve a problem. And these are good candidates to sell products or courses to, because they're actually trying to solve that problem. Because they're in an education mode, this leads to an often higher conversion rate from YouTube ads, and these clients often have higher lifetime values as well, as they tend to buy more products. Now, the second reason YouTube video ads work so well is that video ads allow you to pre-sell your prospects before they even land on your landing page. So a really great video ad will actually do half of the job of getting them to buy by giving them a really strong impression and really making them desire your product. And you really can't do the same thing with text. Or if you do, it's much harder to do that with text versus communicating on video. So if you're selling products and you're the main spokesperson for your company, then you actually build a stronger connection with a video ad versus a text ad. They know who you are, they get your vibe, and usually they'll instantly know whether they like you or not. And there's also a higher chance of your ad going viral, and that's something that could happen. And it's happened to guys like Untitled, it even happened for my client Kinobody. And that can be a huge win, because then people just start sharing your ad and people start talking about you. So that's also really important. Now, one of the most common questions I get about selling digital products on YouTube is, what price point should I sell at? So typically, the higher the price point, the better it is. So with digital products, this really also depends on niche, right? So if you're selling in, let's say, the business opportunity or the make money online niche, you're probably going to have to go with a higher price point. Let's say $997 to $2,000. Anything where you really help people make more money, whether it be by improving their career, whether it be by improving their business, etc. You want to go with a higher price point, and typically that starts at $997 and can go up as high as $10,000, right? There are lots of people selling $10,000 coaching offers that are targeted towards business owners, and that often is quite profitable, because when you're selling something for $10,000, you can spend $3,000 on acquiring a customer and still be very profitable. Now, on the other hand, if you're selling a fitness course or a course about spirituality or meditation, you're probably not going to be able to get people to spend thousands of dollars on them. You may be somewhere in the $69 to $299 range. That's kind of where the niche really does matter. The geography also does matter, right? If you're selling in the US, your click cost is going to be higher, so you have to sell a higher price product. While if you're selling in another country, you may have lower click costs and people may be able to afford lower priced products. So for example, in Latin America, you may only be able to sell a $97 make money online offer, while in the US, you could get away with a $997 offer. Now that you know your price point, what sort of marketing funnel should you use to sell your digital product? So there are a bunch of marketing funnels you can use. A couple of the most popular ones that work really well are the webinar funnels. So an automated webinar funnel is something that can work quite well. So in this funnel, what you do is you send traffic to a landing page where they sign up for an automated webinar that plays every 15 minutes, and then they get sold your offer through that webinar. So that's something that works quite well. However, you do really need a high converting webinar, and because you're doing all the selling through the webinar, this is a harder funnel to make work, because you essentially will have to do all the persuasion through video, right? There's no sales call involved. So you're going to have to be really persuasive and have really great copywriting for your webinar. Now, another funnel type that works well for selling higher ticket programs, typically in the $2,000 to $10,000 range, is a video sales letter funnel. This is where you send them to a video sales letter where they watch a short 15-20 minute video, which essentially shows them what your method is or what your offer is about. And then it gets them interested enough to book a call, and then they have a call with the salesperson, and then the salesperson does the bulk of the selling. So the video sales letter funnel is better for higher priced offers. Now, on top of those two types of funnels, there are other types of funnels as well, right? So something that's working quite well is live webinar funnels, because people are getting tired of automated webinars. They know that it's not a real live webinar. They know it's some pre-recorded webinar. So doing an actual live webinar will help you a lot because people will connect with you really, really well. And that's just important because now these people are really getting skeptical of online courses. They've seen it all, and giving them the chance to talk to you directly on a live workshop is going to increase your conversion rates quite a bit. So the last type of funnel I want to cover is the front-end funnel. Usually what this means is giving them some sort of low-priced offer where you don't really make much of a profit. Maybe you break even, so it could be a $97 video course. And then the goal is to get them to purchase higher priced items later down the line. And the last type of funnel I want to mention is the 5-day challenge funnel. I've been seeing this lately. It's where you get people to sign up for a 5-day challenge. Typically, you have live lessons each day of the challenge, and they kind of have to go through some sort of challenge to, let's say launch their ad or launch their business. And then the goal is at the final day, they're kind of really interested in purchasing because they've already gotten so much value from you. They've built a strong connection with you, so they're much more open to actually doing business with you and buying your higher ticket offer. So how do you create a really great ad for selling your digital product? Essentially, what you have to understand is that people on YouTube to be entertained or to be educated, but they really don't want to see a boring ad. So when you create an ad, you want to really make sure it's engaging, interesting, and offers some sort of value. When you shoot the ad, you really want to make sure that the first 5 seconds grab their attention, this is the hook, and get them to watch the rest of the video ad. So once they're hooked in, it's a lot easier to get them to watch the rest of your videos. Once they watch the rest of your video, they are more likely to go through and click on your link, go into your sales funnel, and so on. A few key components that you do want to hit with your ad is, number one, you want to have some social proof in there. So in the ad itself, you may want to show some testimonials. Maybe it could be a screen grab of, let's say, 10 or so reviews, or it could even be a clip that you edit in of one of your clients. And that really helps show people that, hey, you're legitimate and you actually get results for your clients. Another tip for shooting really great YouTube ads is you want to have strong call to action. So you really want to tell them, hey, you want to click that link above or below to go onto my website and opt in for the free training, right? You're telling them exactly what to do, and this is giving them clear directions. This is going to increase your click-through rates. It's going to increase your conversion rates. So I want to leave you with one last tip for your YouTube video ads. You really want to make sure you get the tonality of your ad down and make it very engaging. So the way I recommend doing this is actually practicing your ad for an hour the day before you shoot. So just say it over and over, but try to vary the tonality. Try to go faster, try to go slower, try to go louder, try to put emphasis on certain parts, try to be quieter in certain parts, and just have more range in your voice. And that makes your ad a lot more interesting. You do not want to be monotone with your ad. And then after you shoot the ad, you want to make sure you get your ad edited. Go hire a freelance video editor from Upwork or any of these online job sites, or somebody you know, to actually help you edit these ads and add in captions, add in special effects, maybe some B-roll or some interesting transitions. This will actually make your ad a lot more interesting and make it a lot easier to watch. In this next part of the video, I'm actually going to show you how to set up a YouTube ad campaign for your digital product. So all you have to do is keep watching this video, and we're gonna cut to that. Okay guys, now let's quickly talk about tracking. I'm not going to bore you guys with super technical tracking details, but I'm just gonna give you the basics that you need to be able to really get the tracking down. So the tools we're gonna use here, Google Ads conversion tracking. Now, basically with the tracking, what you essentially can do is you can set up conversions with Google Ads conversions. So you go to this tools and settings, you click on conversions, and then you will click the plus button, and usually it's going to be a website conversion, right? So let's say you can either do leads, or you can, for example, if somebody is opted in, you can put them as a contact, right? And if somebody purchased, you can put them as a purchase. So for example, let's say they're a lead. So we'll call this lead opted in, right? Usually I don't use a value for leads, and I click on this one, right? Because really a person could opt in multiple times, but we really only count the first one. And yeah, we keep the click through and the view through at 30 days and 1 day. And you would click create and continue. Now at this point, there's a few options, right? If you have a web developer, You can email the tag. You can install the tag yourself, which is the manual way. What I suggest is Google Tag Manager. So using Google Tag Manager allows you to really install tags really easily. So what Google Tag Manager is, it's basically a tool that allows you to place different tags, and tags are things like the Facebook pixel, the Google conversion tracking pixel, the Google remarketing tag. And with Google Tag Manager, you install it once on your website, right? So let's say you use ClickFunnels, look up how to set up Google Tag Manager on ClickFunnels, set it up once, and then you just go in here and you can basically add tags in here. So instead of having to go inside the website and then hard coding each conversion each time you want to do it, you just go in here, add in a new tag. Let's say it's the Google Ads conversion tracking ad tag. All that you'll do is you'll go here, you'll copy conversion ID, bam, conversion label. It's just so easy with Google Tag Manager. And then you'll figure out the triggers. So if, for example, usually you'll trigger a lead on the thank you page after they opt in. So you'll have an opt-in and then you'll take them to a thank you page. So what you'll do is you'll add a new trigger, and let's say visited thank you page for a lead. Click here, page view, and only on some page views. And then you would do, page URL. And then you would add in, let's say, thank you page lead form. Now, obviously, I'm not going to save this because, as you can tell, we have a pretty complex tracking system. I don't want to mess it up and get my tracking guy angry at me, but you get the idea, right? Now, let's talk about how to set up campaigns and the various targeting options with YouTube ads, right? So I'm going to show you how this whole thing works, right? So what you do is you click on a new campaign. You're going to go click on either sales or leads. It really doesn't make too much of a difference. You're going to click on video, and you're going to get this drive conversions. And you'll name your campaign whatever you want to name it. Typically, I'll put in the targeting and the funnel I'm sending them to, as well as the name of ads I'm basically targeting. So, and also put in the date. So I'll do something like put usually the date first, so it's easy to see. And then the bidding types. So there are two main bidding types you want to keep in mind. There's target CPA and there's maximize conversion. So I'll put in something like target CPA. So that means that it's basically what Google's going to try to do is get you conversions at a certain cost per conversion with target CPA. With maximize conversions, it's better for newer accounts, but it can cost more. So let's just say I'm going to do target CPA to get started. If you're just starting out, I would do maximize conversions. So, and then you would do, let's say, your targeting options. So one targeting option could be YouTube advertising keywords, right? Keywords, and then let's say I'm going to put in 3 ads into it. So I'll call this multiple ads because I'm going to put 3 ads into this campaign. So with target CPA, there's typically going to be a bid. So I'm going to put in a $20 target CPA. And I'm kind of telling Google that, hey, I'm willing to pay $20 for a conversion. Now, it doesn't mean that conversions will come in for $20. A lot of times they can come in for lower. So it's something to keep in mind. This is where you set the daily budget. I typically will start campaigns at anywhere from $25 to $50. I'll put in $50. Typically, Google will tell you to spend a lot more budget. However, in my experience, it's better to start with a small budget. If a campaign goes well, you can always increase it. But in my experience, it's always better to be a little bit more conservative. So a pretty big change that's happened recently is you're not able to unselect video partners on the display network. Now, this basically means that your ad will show up on third-party websites, right? Not just on YouTube. And this could be websites like CNN.com, it could be random bloggers websites, etc. So just a heads up on this. This is a recent change and you can't really unselect this. And honestly, I don't really know a workaround other than reusing old campaigns. So just reusing old campaigns and changing the audience and ad on them, but keeping them as they are. Or using Google Ads Editor, which I have a video on the channel if you look up YouTube Google Ads Editor tutorial. And with Google Ads Editor, we're still able to duplicate campaigns and keep them without
the display network. I'm sure that will go away soon, so don't assume that it's going to be around for long. But yeah, that's just a heads up on that. I would just put in English if you're targeting the English market. And inventory type, I like expanded because I don't really care if my ads show up in front of, a violent video or whatever. For me, it doesn't make a difference. However, if you're working for a brand that really cares about that, I would choose standard or limited inventory. Now, you can also decide where you want to show up or not show up. Typically, live streaming videos might be a good idea to kind of block those, because if people are live streaming something, people are not going to want to really watch a long ad. And yeah, other than that, if you're trying to avoid showing in front of mature audiences, you can do that. Typically, again, as I said, I don't really care too much, so I'll just have live streaming videos there. You can use these site link extensions. We've tested these. You'll want to make sure that basically you can't send them to the same page you're sending your ad to. So if your ad URL is, let's say, linxdigitalagency.com/case study, you can't send them to the same URL. So what you could do here is you could send them to a frequently asked questions or tips and tricks or another page that's kind of relevant, and then you can get a higher click-through rate with this. So site link extensions can often work quite well if you know what you're doing with them. So this is the product feed. You can show basically products with your ads. This is more for an e-commerce feature, so that's something to keep in mind if you're doing e-commerce. I'll usually do account level conversion settings. I may exclude TV screens because it's kind of hard to click on TV screens. In terms of frequency capping, I will do this. I will typically put in, let's say in terms of impressions per day, 3 impressions per day and then 2 per week. That's a decent number. It makes sure that your ads are not showing to the same people like bazillion times. And yeah, you can even have an ad schedule, so you can decide when your ads show up. So I'm going to cut into past Shash again for another quick update. So back in the day, you could actually choose between responsive and in-stream. So in the past, you would see this. And what this would be is you would be able to choose between responsive and standard. And now you can only choose responsive. And what this essentially means is your ads will show up either as video discovery or in-stream, but you can't basically choose which one. Now, this isn't a big deal. We're getting really good results with responsive campaigns, so we're not really worried about it. In one of our accounts, they're outperforming the in-stream ads quite a bit. So there isn't that much of a downside to this, right? Yes, it is less control, but many people are making it out to be the end of YouTube ads. And in reality, that's not the truth. You just have to get used to the new format, and we'll go over the new format later in this video. And same thing here with your ad group name. You can name the ad group. Typically what we'll do is we'll have one campaign, one ad group, and 3 to 4 different ads in there. So the demographics also are a really useful option here. So for example, if you're selling a high ticket info product, you're probably gonna not sell to 18 to 24-year-olds, and you probably want to exclude the lower 50% of household income. So we'll play around and test this, but typically we find for high ticket offers, we will either go top 30% or top 50%. And one thing to keep in mind is that household income is only in certain countries, and it's really a lot more accurate in the US. In certain countries like Brazil, for example, it's there, but it's not as accurate. Now, with YouTube, there are a bunch of different targeting options, right? So you have a lot of these audiences. So with audiences, you have multiple types, right? So there is remarketing and similar audiences. So this is basically YouTube's version of remarketing and lookalikes. So remarketing is basically, let's say, people who've already interacted with your YouTube channel or your website or your email list, right? People you've uploaded. The other option is similar audiences, which is people that are similar to other people who've taken action. So it's people who are similar to your YouTube viewers, people who are similar to converters, people who are similar to website visitors. So that's kind of Google's version of lookalike audiences. We haven't had amazing success with them, but they're worth testing out, especially if you can layer them with something else to make them narrower. So an incredible custom audience that you can use is custom intent audiences, which are basically based on what they're searching on google.com. So in our case, as you can see, if they're searching for YouTube advertising, we can target them on YouTube with that custom audience. So that's a really cool targeting idea. Optimized targeting is a new feature. what it does, it uses your landing page information, your website, etc. to help optimize your ads. You can disable this after. We haven't really tested this because it's a very new feature, so we're still the jury's still out on this. Now, there are more targeting options, right? There's actually, even in audiences, there's a lot more audiences in here, right? So on top of these custom audiences, there's in-market and life events. So in-market is when they're searching for something. So for example, they could be looking for certain business services. So if you're, let's say, an staffing and recruitment company, there is an audience for people who are looking for staffing and recruitment services. So again, this is a really, really useful targeting option. So with life events, you can target people who are looking at creating new businesses, look at people who just graduated college, people who are renovating their home or are going to renovate it, even marriage, moving, people who've gotten a new pet or a new cat or dog, people who are buying a home soon, right? So there's a gold mine of targeting options here. And then you also have other options like keywords, where basically you target YouTube videos based on their metadata. So if a YouTube video has a certain title and you, let's say, put in let's say e-commerce advertising. So YouTube will go out and find videos related to e-commerce advertising and show your ad in front of those videos. So that's one option. So topics are basically videos about certain subjects. So then YouTube will show your videos in front of certain topics. So as you can see, if I wanted to, I could click business and industrial, and then I can go down here and go into advertising and marketing. And then I can target people who are watching videos about email marketing or direct mail marketing. And there's so many of these. So there's like SEO services, I believe, as well. And then the last one is placements. So placements allows you to target channels and videos that are about specific targeting. So one really great tool we use is this tool called TubeSift. So you can log in here. You can actually put in a keyword and it will give you a bunch of videos about that topic. So let's say we want dieting tips for keto, right? Let's say you have a keto product that helps you lose weight. So now you have a bunch of really popular videos that are about keto and weight loss, and you can basically show your ad in front of these videos. So let's say you're selling a high-ticket coaching program on how to scale your Amazon business. So let's say scale Amazon business. You can enter that keyword. And now you're getting a bunch of videos that are all about scaling Amazon. It does take a little bit of time to pull up these results, but you can just let this run on the background. And once this is done, get the links from here, cut, go into enter, paste, and then you have your placements. Now you're targeting videos about Amazon. Perfect. And then you would throw your ad in here. Okay, so now we're actually going to show you how to set up your ad. So the first thing you need to do is actually go into YouTube and get your ad URL. Now, if you haven't uploaded your ad already, what you can do is click this plus button, click upload video. So you'll need to create a YouTube account, which you can do with any Gmail account. But then you go in there, click that button, upload video, set it as unlisted, and then grab this URL here and go inside Google Ads and put it in here, right? So what you're going to see here is in the past, you could choose between responsive and in-stream, and now it's only responsive, which means you have both video discovery ads. So this is a video discovery ad. And then you also have the in-stream format, which is this right here, which is the traditional YouTube ad. Now we've had great results with both formats. So this is completely normal. Do not worry about it. You'll still get great results with YouTube ads, but there are a few key differences. The first thing you'll notice is there's a lot less copy on the in-stream format. On the in-stream format, what you have here is this headline right here. And then you also have this call to action button. And then obviously you'll have your display URL, your final URL, etc. But you're not going to have these two right here. These are just for the responsive format. So if you look at this responsive format, you will see that this is the long headline and this is our description. So this gives you a lot of copy. And what you can do with this is you can actually split test the copy here and be able to really increase click-through rates by split testing ad copy. Now, keep in mind with this current format with video action ads, which is, basically target CPA and maximize conversions, you are not going to have video discovery on the desktop. On desktop, all you're going to have is InStream. So if you try to click on video discovery on desktop, all you see is InStream right here. And that's how that works. Another thing to keep in mind is your ads will show up on Google Video Partners. Like we discussed, that is compulsory and you don't have the option to change that now. So what you're going to have to do is essentially make sure to take a look at how your ad looks like on the Video Partner side. So over here, you can see that on mobile, you have the video discovery option as well as the InStream option. So these will show up on third-party websites. So for example, this InStream ad will show up in front of videos in other websites, while this may show up on other pages on their website as well. So these are going to show up in third-party websites. Just keep that in mind. On the desktop version of Google Video Partners, you're only going to have it show up as InStream in front of videos. So if you're, for example, you're on a news site and you click on a video, you may actually get shown an InStream ad. Now, one last thing to keep in mind is you can also create a companion banner. So a companion banner is basically an image or a group of images that you can upload. Essentially with InStream ads, what it does is if you go on YouTube and InStream, this is where your companion banner is going to show up. And that's why the format is 300 by 60. And then that's going to increase your click-through rates if you have a really great companion banner right here. I would typically recommend using something that kind of summarizes what your ad is and like the main call to action. So something like click below to get your free training, and then they can go get the free training. So another last key piece of advice I want to give you guys is to name the ad properly. With this ad, for example, since it's this script and storyboard ad, I have that in the name and I keep it consistent between campaigns. If I'm using this ad in a bunch of different campaigns, I'm going to keep it with that same name because that will make analysis much easier. And that's it, guys. When you click this, you will create your first YouTube ads campaign. Now, in the next part of the video, we're going to talk about how you can analyze your results for a campaign and use that data to make better decisions.
All right, so once you've actually set up your campaigns and you have had a few days, then you'll want to look at your campaigns to see what performance is like. So I'm looking at one of my campaigns, and one of the things you want to look at is, let's say, your cost per lead. If you're running a VSL funnel where you're sending traffic to VSL, you want to understand your cost per lead, and you want to really aim for under, $15 if you can. $20 okay, $15 is great. $10 and lower for high ticket coaching is awesome. Now, if you're in a niche like health and fitness, you'll probably want to be aiming for $3 to $5, or if you're in a niche like music coaching, etc. Right? So depending on your niche, your cost per lead could be anywhere from $3 to like $25, right? Ultimately, what matters is how much revenue you make from that lead. And that's why some niches are more expensive than others. Now, a few things you want to take a look at is I've also have a custom conversion set up for book calls and the book calls cost per acquisition. So we're getting $173 per book call, which is I'm pretty happy with. And then a few other metrics you want to look at is if you click on this columns, you want to have a click-through rate, you want to have cost per click and average cost per view. So those are also important to take a look at. So the reason I like looking at click-through rate is it tells me how well the ad is doing. So we're getting a 2.96% click-through rate, which tells me the ad is hitting with the audience and people like this video ad. Our cost per click is pretty high because this is a competitive niche. Average cost per view is also quite high because, once again, this is a competitive niche, right? But yeah, overall, I'm decently happy with the performance of this campaign. So that gives you an idea of how to optimize your campaigns. Now from here, what you can do is you can go into the ad level. In this case, we only have one ad, but if you have multiple ads, you can take a look at the performance of each ad and how they're doing. So yeah, that's pretty much how to analyze your campaigns. And once you've got your first campaign set up, then all you have to do is just test more targeting options and test more ads. And then you're off to the races with YouTube ads. And yeah, you could make it work quite well for you.
All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed watching this video tutorial on how to sell digital products on YouTube. If you want to learn more about how you can sell your coaching, consulting, or course on YouTube, we have a link to our YouTube ads coaching program where we go very deep into the subject, and we've had many students make 7 figures or more, and we even have an award for it where we've had multiple people win the gold award for doing $1 million of YouTube ads. So there will be a link below to actually sign up for this program, and I will see you there.